Okay, today on The Frequency, we're going to be talking about the 2024 Writers Black Conference and my special guest, Professor Donna Hill, on The Frequency. Welcome to another episode of The Frequency. I'm your host, Dee Barnes, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be concentrating on Black writers, especially talking about the 2024 Black Writers Conference with my special guest, Professor, writer, author, editor, Donna Hill. Please join us. How are you, sister?
Hey. It's so good to be here. Thank you. How you doing?
I'm good, and I'm so excited to talk to you because just you being a writer, I have so many questions as far as your work. I'm serious. I'm so serious because I am working on my first book, and so
Ooh.
I'm really, it's a memoir, so I'm really excited to just talk to you about Black literature in general, and especially we're going to focus on the conference. But I would like to get into your background. Where did you grow up? And what led you to want to be a writer?
Oh, wow. Well, I grew up in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
born and bred, Bed-Stuy to the bone.
Do or die, Bed-Stuy. Remember that?
Bed-Stuy. So I grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt was a teacher. She insisted from back in the day, because this was, pre, everybody got to go to nursery school and kindergarten and all of that.
Right.
So my aunt would come home in the afternoon when I was like, 4 or 5 years old and have me read. I always had books. When I was old enough to go to the library on my own, that's where I spent my Saturdays. So I was like, I guess what kids would call now like a nerd.
Right.
So, I'm sitting in the library and everybody's out doing whatever they did, but I was reading. And, fast forward, dozens and dozens of years, of course. I always was writing,
Mm-hmm.
but I never saw anybody that looked like me in the books that I was reading.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So it was always this thing that I never thought I could be a writer because I wasn't validated anywhere.
Right.
So I was just writing for myself. I'd write for my friends and, all of that. And one day I just did a short story.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm just going to put it out there. I went and found a book of where to submit short stories. I submitted my first short story. And a few weeks later, I get a letter back from the editor of the magazine.
Right.
And she says, this is not a rejection. This is what I want you to do. Because I had sent my little short story to the confession magazines. So for those of you who know Black romance, Bronze Thrills, all those kind of
Right.
confession magazines. So I sent it, and I rewrote the story to her specifications. They published it, and this was like 1989-ish.
Wow.
And they paid me like, I don't know, $50 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I'm a published writer.
Okay, you're a published writer. Now, were you
getting paid?
Were you okay? Were you like going to school at the time to
I was
want to
working.
teach? You were working.
I wasn't in school then. I look much younger than I actually am. So there's that.
There's that. We know Black don't crack. Okay, same here.
And so this same editor, she mentored me. She took me to my first writers conference. Her name is Nathasia Brooks Harris. She took me to my first writers conference with my partial manuscript. I met with one of the biggest publishers of romance in the country. And she basically told me that this is a good story. However, do my characters have to be Black?
No.
Yes. And this was in New York City in 1989. So this is not, the backwoods of the Delta anywhere in Manhattan. So I was totally thrown. And I said, well, yeah, because everything that I've been reading, write about what you know. So I figured I should
Exactly.
know a little something about being a Black woman.
Right.
So again, fast forward, I submitted it to another house and was essentially told, if we're going to publish any Black romances, they have to be better than anything else that we're doing. So I was like, whoa. And I eventually found Odyssey Books when I was
Mhm.
sifting through a magazine. Odyssey Books was a small Black publishing company in Silver Springs, Maryland. Letitia Peoples was the publisher. I sent my partial manuscript to them eventually.
Mhm.
And I'm, figuring,
Right.
I get another rejection. I get a letter back and say, we want to publish your book, send us the rest. But meanwhile, I'd never
Wow.
written the rest because I was being told, we're not going to do this. So
Yeah.
going back and forth to work on the train, I
Mhm.
would write my manuscript. I would write the story out longhand in on my notebooks.
Wow.
I come home in the evenings and I sit down at a Selectric typewriter,
Oh, yes.
yes, with carbon paper, and
Mhm.
write out the whole nine and type out this manuscript. And actually still have it. I
That's
eventually
brilliant.
finished it,
Uh-huh.
submitted it to Odyssey Books, and it was published. So my first novel came out in 1990.
1990. And did you always know you wanted to write romance novels? Was that
No, it was actually more by accident because I was really a mystery reader. Like I
okay?
would read mysteries and about the gods and Greek gods and things like
Right,
that.
right, right.
So, my first short story for the Confession magazines was actually this sort of like mystery. This woman was being followed
Uh-huh.
and they eventually get together or whatever, but it was kind of like this little mystery thing. So I because it was the Confessions, they're
Right,
romantic type stories,
right.
and so I kind of like tumbled in it more so than by design. Like I never set out to say I want to be a romance writer per se,
Uh-huh.
because that wasn't really what I read a lot of.
Okay.
So it
I
was.
have to ask you, wait, to interrupt. How did you keep your motivation to keep going? Because here you are having, person after person try to reject you or mold you into something else. What motivated you to keep going? What were your influences?
Well, I have to say that Nathasia, my
Mhm.
very first editor at Sterling Magazine, was a really big influence.
Right.
And I was working at the time that I started working on my first novel. I was working at an architectural company in Manhattan,
Okay.
and I was like the office manager. And within the architectural company was an interior design firm, so they shared the space. But it was this incredibly creative, inventive environment because I was around people all day that were making something from nothing.
Right.
They'd have a piece of paper and they, sketch out these, beautiful designs, and there was fabrics and it was buildings, and then you could see the final products when they would go
Right.
to these buildings. And so that in itself was inspiring,
Mhm.
because I saw how you could be, creative.
Right.
And
That's
so
my passion, interior design. I love it.
really,
Yes,
yeah,
I have, and I understand what you're talking about. That process it's just like watching, painters.
yeah.
They just create, or sculptors, because like you said, the material, the paint, the ideas from taking it from, from a paper and then putting it out into the world. That is a great environment to be in. But most writers don't have that, that option. So what would be some advice that you would give to, aspiring artists? I mean, excuse me, writers.
Not to give up,
Right.
that there is, if this is really what you want to do, you can do it. I mean, when I first started, there were not a lot of options for Black writers. If
Right.
you weren't writing about, the revolution, there
Yes.
just was no space for us. When my first novel came out, there were not Black romances on the bookshelves in the bookstores. They just weren't
True.
there.
That's so
And
true.
so it's a different environment now, which is great.
Mhm.
Study your craft,
Study your
uh,
craft.
read widely. Like I read everything,
Yeah.
and don't give up. If this
Right.
is what you want, you
Mhm.
can. There's a place, for you. So, and you have to also surround yourself with people who understand your passion. Like if you're a writer and all of your friends are accountants, they're not really going to get it.
Right.
you
That's
know.
true. That's true.
So, join writers groups, go to readings,
Mhm.
surround yourself with, all of the inspirations to
I
keep
was
you.
just thinking that people that inspire you. Oh
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I want to talk to you more about your influence, especially like who was the first, African American writer that inspired you. But we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back on the frequency with my guest, Donna Hill, professor.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
An angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Welcome back to The Frequency. I'm your host, Dee Barnes, and I'm still here with my special guest, writer, editor, and professor, Donna Hill. Please join us over the break, thinking about what you were saying and trying to remember, what I read, because I was the same type of kid in the library, read everything. And also my mom she sold the encyclopedias, the Britannica encyclopedias.
Wow.
Yes. So that was my Google at the time. So I had all those books, like from the breakdown for, just the regular library from A to Z, to medical books, to, life cycle books or whatever. And I was thinking, what was the first Black author that I recognized as a young person? And I have to say, thinking about it during that time we were just talking, maybe Alex Haley, thinking about roots and, the Malcolm X story. But I can't think of like the women I didn't learn until when I got older, more the end of high school. And then of course, college, because in college, they don't teach you, Black history and things about the authors and stuff like that. So who was some of your influences, and like what was the first Black author that you recognize, male or female?
Wow. Black authors came to me much later.
Right.
In life. Again, because of when I started, there weren't any that I had access to,
Right.
or knew about. And
Mhm.
I didn't have any writer friends to say, "Oh, well, this is who you should read,"
Right.
So there was that. And so I don't even know how I came upon this book, but it was uh Corbin. What is his name?
Okay.
Stephen Corbin.
Uh-huh.
No Easy Place to Be.
No Easy Place to Be.
Yes. Oh, it was so good. I still have it. It's like dog-eared, and it was hardcover, so it has the paper cover that comes around
Right.
around the edges. So that was very inspirational to me, because of the time period that it was.
Mhm.
And just trying to recall some of the elements, but I know that I was like, wow, here's a story about like places that I can recognize and people that I can recognize and the language that I can recognize.
Right.
And one other, and this was later also, I started beginning slowly to find Black books. Doris Jean Austen's After the Garden. Um,
Mm.
I was so involved in reading that book.
Mhm.
I was literally walking down Fulton Street in Brooklyn, reading the book and crying
Oh, wow.
while I'm walking down the street. So that's, so those two books were my early sort of introductions to like, this is what Black fiction can look like.
Right. You just made me think of Native Son.
Yeah.
Yes, because I do recall finding that in the library, and it was like, hidden. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it wasn't like out and about. So yeah, you made me think about that. And the women, like you said, not until, I got older. It's very frustrating for, I mean, it's different now, like you said, for Black writers, but I can't even imagine how you navigated that, time by yourself. And it's great that you had a mentor, to kind of guide you through that, because we don't have that. You're like basically an explorer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You're basically an explorer, just out there, trying to find your way. So when did I know you were writing this whole time, but when did you become a professor?
Well, I my writing propelled me to go into academia as well.
Okay.
I'd been writing for, a couple of dozen years already, and I was teaching workshops.
Oh, okay.
I
The writer's workshop.
would do writers workshops and things like that. Some of which I was doing for Medgar Evers College's Center for Black Literature. So I was doing some of those. And then I realized I want to teach people what I've learned,
Mm.
and I want to be able to do it on a larger scale. But I knew that in order for me to be able to do that, I was going to have to go back to school. I was going to have to get, a graduate degree in order to be able to teach in college, because I knew I wanted to teach at college level. So
Wow.
I went back to school, and I got my MFA in creative writing. And I first started off at Essex County College in New Jersey.
Oh, yes, yes, I'm familiar.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was teaching there, and they put me through, I learned how to do everything. One of my first classes that I took was a world literature class. So they give me this book. This is my first class like ever.
Oh,
Give me
wow.
this book. It must be about 5,000 pages long. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this?
Oh, no.
And so I teach this class, but the Professor Longmore, who hired me, she just like, she's one of those people that, you know, if I hired you, clearly you have to be able to do what I think you can do. So do it.
Right.
And, you know, put me in these classes, and, you know, I got my sea legs, and I was teaching. So that was in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I graduated at the end of, you know, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And in January of 2012, she hired me at Essex
Wow.
College.
Like right out of school.
Right out fresh. I was still fresh. My degree was, the ink was still drying.
Right. Were you terrified or what?
I was terrified. I was like, oh my God. But I again had another mentor, Terry Benjamin. And I was like, Terry, you know, help me. And he says, all you got to remember is stay one page ahead of the students. And I never forgot that. I was like, okay. She said, he was like, basically, don't let them see you sweat.
Right, exactly.
They expect that you know more than they do. So just act like it.
That is great advice, though. Stay one page ahead.
Stay one page ahead of the students.
You could apply that to life.
Exactly. And
I love that. Shout out to Terry.
Yes, Terry Benjamin. And so I was there from 2012. 2013, I got an opportunity to teach as an adjunct at Medgar Evers College.
Okay.
Thank you to Dr. Brenda Green for that. She brought me on. So in 2013, I adjunct until 2017, when a position was beginning to open up for faculty.
Okay.
And I did that for a year, and then I came on full time in 2018. So that's where I've been at Medgar Evers College full time as a faculty assistant professor since 2018.
And this whole time, as you've been teaching, you've been writing, and releasing books.
Yeah.
What are some of your books? Some of the titles offhand.
Oh my God! I have like
we have the books.
I have like over 100 titles published.
Oh my goodness! I didn't know it was over 100. I know I did look at a lot. Wow! Congratulations.
Yeah. So my most recent, I guess I should start from now and go backwards. But my most recent is a historical fiction. I Am Aya. That came out in there it is.
Yes, beautiful book. I was hoping we talked about that. What is I Am Aya about?
Oh my goodness, it is about legacy. It is a story of a young woman who has essentially dismissed her legacy as a result of the things that her mother told her. You know, we are not about that. We are moving forward. The past is the past. You know, it's nothing but horror for Black folks. So we're not doing that. So that's how she grew up. She ultimately has to come back home for her father, who had an injury. And she comes back to Sag Harbor, one favorite place of mine.
Right.
And she comes back to Sag Harbor to take care of her father. And ultimately, what is happening is that she begins to uncover the legacy of her family that dates all the way back to when they arrived on La Amistad, just outside of Sag Harbor. So there's a parallel story. You hear the voices and live the experiences of her ancestors as she is uncovering this information until it all just sort of merges together at the end.
Is it based on a true story? A little bit.
There are pieces of it that are based on a true story. The La Amistad coming ashore is true.
Right, of course.
Cinque, you know, the hero of that story, that part of it is true. But in my version, because I am a fiction writer, I actually had a woman on that ship that helped Cinque release, because there's this fable that there was this rusty nail that he found and was able to unloosen his shackles. And so when I was thinking of who could my initial character be, I thought, what if it was one of the women who were captured because they would let the women more often walk free and
Right.
shame the men.
Because they
What if
didn't feel that they were a threat.
right? What if she was the one that found the nail to free him?
To free him.
And so that's how the story begins, with that ancestor back in 1839 up to sort of present day. And
That's
so it's
beautiful.
my contemporary characters, heroines.
Right.
I'm sorry, her matriarchal lineage
Okay.
that we follow. And we go to Tulsa, the Chicago fire, Philadelphia. We move through the Depression. So, and all
Wow.
of her ancestors are relevant during that time.
Wow. You made me think of two things. One, though, I have to address. I don't know how you feel about it. What do you feel about reparations?
Wow.
Complicated subject.
It's complicated. Obviously we're owed reparations. I don't think there's a real question about that. How would we get them? And what does that even look like? I know that, for example, in Tulsa, they're talking about reparations because they can actually connect, certain family members with families that were actually destroyed, as a result of what happened at the Tulsa riots.
Right.
So if I sort of said, to my government, well, I want reparations, where and how do we make that happen?
You made me think about it because the key thing you said in the book was about dismissing the legacy. And I feel like, the majority of African Americans are dismissing their legacy. I don't even know it.
Right. Yeah.
Don't even know it.
Most people can't go beyond maybe their great grandparent.
Exactly. It's sad, really.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people. I can't go past that. I don't know a lot. I'm still learning my history of the family and all of that.
Yeah.
Dismissing the legacy. I want to touch more on that subject. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Back right here on The Frequency with my guest, writer, editor, and professor Donna Hill. Miss Hill, we were just talking about dismissing the legacy, and I was thinking so deeply about your book. I'm definitely getting ready to jump into that because that story was amazing, and just the way you described it without giving everything away. Have you thought about, or are you in the process of like turning your books into movies?
Well,
that's a story I would love to see on the screen.
So would I. Um, it's actually being worked on shops
Good.
right now.
Great.
My book that came out before that,
What's called?
Confessions in B flat, that
Oh,
has already been optioned. So
nice. What is that about?
that is about my two main characters that it takes place during the height of the civil rights movement. One character is a follower of Martin Luther King. One character is a follower of Malcolm X.
Wow.
It is my female character that is the follower of Malcolm X.
Yes.
And my male character is a follower of Martin Luther King. They meet on a bus the same day as the bombing that killed the four little girls.
Oh, wow.
And so the majority of the story takes place in Harlem. During that time period, the book, if you get the electronic version of that book, you can actually click on the links that will take you to the actual speeches of Malcolm X.
Oh, wow.
Adam Clayton Powell, when he was talking at the church up in Harlem, there in the text itself, in the book itself, there are images of Malcolm, the Apollo Theater, John F. Kennedy when he signed the Civil Rights Act. Also, there's all sorts of stuff that's happening in this book, and so my two characters are, traversing this time period,
right,
and what we were up against. And of course, they have this romantic relationship. The Vietnam War plays into it as well. So
that is going to be amazing. Oh my gosh, that's mind blowing. I'm excited for you. This is incredible. Oh, I wish you all the best on that. So this just takes us right into the 2024 Black Writers Conference. Please tell me all about this. Now, did you found this? Are you on the board? How are you making this happen?
The Center for Black Literature, which is one of the centers at Medgar Evers College, that center was founded by Dr. Brenda Green. Okay. And part of what the center does, what its mission is to ensure the continual spread of Black literature across the diaspora. And so that is its goal, that's its mission. And one of the major events that the center hosts is the National Black Writers Conference. Okay. And it alternates yearly. 1 year it is a full conference of 4 days, and on the alternate year it's a symposium, which is 2 days. So this year is the 17th annual National Black Writers Conference, which will be held at Medgar Evers College in March 20th to the 23rd. Okay. And Dr. Brenda Green she's just amazing.
Right.
She knows everybody who's anybody. So just like to start us off, we have Michael Eric Dyson. Wow. Is one of the keynote speakers. He's going to be opening with Farrah Jasmine Griffin. Percival Everett, whose book Erasure is turned into the film American Fiction, starring
Jeffrey Wright.
Yes.
I'm excited for that one. I'm
going to see it tomorrow, so I'm just telling you.
I'm jealous.
So he is one of the honorees, Percival Everett. Bernice McFadden, my sister friend, and a Brooklyn native, also is one of the honorees. Paul Coates is one of the honorees, and Pernell Joseph is one of the honorees. So those are just the honorees. And when you look at the lineup for the 4-day conference, it's absolutely phenomenal. There's something for everyone.
Right.
There are even virtual programs as well. And registration is open now. for anybody to be able to register, and they can go to centerforblackLiterature.org and register for the program, for all of the programs throughout the 4-day process.
You said the Center for Black Literature was founded at the college.
Mm-hmm.
When was this?
This was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, so it has been around for a long time. Yes.
That is great. So I mean, you don't have to necessarily be at the college to be part of it, or is it just for writers or just for people who love to read? It's for everyone.
People who love to read. The Center for Black Literature hosts a variety of programs.
Okay.
They work with the college also, but they host the Role program, which is re-envisioning our lives through literature. And that is dealing with our schools, our middle schools, our primary schools, and some high schools to get students to read. We bring in teaching artists into the schools. They work on a particular book for the semester. At the end of the semester, they produce their own manuscript.
Wow.
They do a program. So that's one of the programs that we have for youth.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, we have programs for elders. It's the Dr. Edith Wright Elders Writing Workshop. I used to be the facilitator for that.
Right.
If you want to know anything about anything, these women will talk about stuff that had me embarrassed, and I was like, but they're just like totally amazing. They write their memoirs. They've produced several publications based on their memoirs. So that's one of the other programs that they do.
That's beautiful.
The Center for Black Literature also has other programs that they do like throughout the year, like smaller programs that they deal with.
You know, not to interrupt you, you made me think about when you were talking about the program for school and the youth.
Mm-hmm.
What are your feelings on the book bannings right now, and certain, especially Black books? like I saw you throw your head back. Especially Black books that are being eliminated from the youth, and how is the organization kind of countering that?
That's an excellent question.
Thank you.
What is happening with? I mean, there's always been book banning,
right?
But now it has sort of reached a fever pitch, especially as it is directed towards Black writers in general. It's almost like a badge of honor to be banned at this point, as opposed to it being something negative. It's like, oh, you don't want to read my book? Okay. So hopefully I'll get on the list at some point. But which is why it's more important than ever for a place like the Center for Black Literature.
Exactly.
Because in addition to the programs that they offer throughout the community, and then the national conference that brings people from all over the country, to the center. They also have the Killings Review reading series. And
what
so
every month they have. I'm sorry, say it again. The what?
The Killings Review reading series.
Okay.
And so it's a book club. And it's an online book club that anybody from any place all over the world can join it. Each month they read a book, they get together, they talk about books, they talk about literature. Sometimes we have, they have the author comes and visits. So, there's that as well. They also produce a quarterly journal that brings in, short stories, excerpts from longer fiction, artwork, poetry, and that's the Killings Review. So all of these things the Center for Black Literature is doing to ensure that Black literature across the board, from the littlest reader to the oldest reader, is being addressed.
That's brilliant, because I'm so grateful that I don't have children in school right now, because I couldn't even
know what I would do.
I don't know what I would do either. I mean, besides all the other things that we have to worry about, their safety in general.
Right.
Now you have to worry about, the quality of the education. and these school board fights and this drama that's going on with just reading.
Yeah.
And what are they afraid of? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the thing of it, it's books and it's everything. If you don't want to, read a particular book, don't read it.
Right.
But why do you want to stop, 7,000 other people from reading this book because you found a line in the book that's offensive to you? It's just the same way. I mean, if we have to get down to it, it's the same thing that happened, with film. So we put ratings on film because when I was coming up, there was no ratings. You just kind of like went to the movies.
That's right. I remember.
Right. Exactly. Right. And so you put ratings on books, but I mean, I can't even. Now I'm getting agitated.
That's all right. That's all right. You're passionate. It's not agitated. It's passion.
It's passion. But I can't think of what school it's in. It's probably Florida, where
or Texas.
Yeah, Florida, Texas, one of those places, where they took out the library. They just eliminated the library in the school altogether, and what they put there is called, it's like a detention center. So if a student is acting up in class or whatever, they get sent to this place, this room, which used to be a library that no longer has books in it.
Oh, that's heartbreaking to me for you and I, kids that grew up going to the library. That was a sanctuary for us. I can't even imagine.
Remove, and you have teachers, in these states that the librarians have to remove books off the shelves because some parent was offended.
Right.
They didn't want and it's okay, you don't want it in the classroom, but why is it taken out of the library? Library is public, essentially.
Exactly.
So I have just it's scary. And I'm glad my kids are grown, but I mean I have grandkids. I don't look like it. But
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I have grandkids that are in school, and it's like what is going to happen to them? And in Florida, they have sort of banned Black history being taught in the schools. So by the time this next generation gets out of school, they won't know anything.
They won't know anything. They're dumbing down.
There's places in Texas where they have changed Black history to say that the slaves weren't really slaves.
Oh, yes, I know. And we benefited
because we wanted a better life and to be
a better life. They rescued us. The savior complex. Oh my God. We're gonna take a short break and we're gonna get back more into this. I mean, yeah, we both grabbing our head like, what is really going on? We'll be back, y'all. A frequency.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black
own media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Back right here on The Frequency with writer, editor, and Professor Donna Hill. We were both grabbing our head with this madness with the book bannings. And do we have the link for the Center of BlackLiterature.org? Can let's make sure that's on the screen, possibly, to put that up, because I want people to definitely log in there and really get involved with. I think that books should be passed out. Like the books that they're banning, like, I think we should just like make sure like everyone has it. I know there's some places where they actually have these little book, I guess like a book, free books, mailbox little spots, drop off places, because I can't believe it. And like we were just saying, I'm so grateful that I don't have my kids are grown also, even though I don't look it. And I'm so glad they're out of school to have to deal with this. But like you said, you have grandchildren, and I have younger cousins that are dealing with it, and I'm always recommending books to them. I mean, as a Black writer, that that's got to be frustrating. That has to be frustrating. How do we navigate this minefield?
Yeah, and it's really going to be up to organizations like the Center for Black Literature, Black writers who are, who have a platform,
right,
that can speak out, because what will happen if we don't, and if we allow what is happening to our book legacy, our literary legacy, to be erased, then those young Black folks coming behind us will have no clue.
Exactly.
Will have no clue. And so, what the center does is so integral to maintaining our literary legacy.
Yes.
Past, present, and future.
Future.
We look at, literature across the board. And Dr. Brenda Green is at the helm of that, making sure that we gonna read.
That's right. That's right. We gonna read. Exactly. And then this is, also what the conference is about.
Yes,
the conference
absolutely.
is about. I mean, because I'm sure like not only do they have the authors there, but you have the books there also.
Yeah. So every author, the list of authors that are going to be there and scholars that are going to be there is long. So I really, really encourage everyone to go to the Center for BlackLiterature.org. Yes, there it is.
Yes.
And those are the honorees. But you'll be able to register directly online. And you can see all of the authors that are going to be there. Their books are going to be there. We'll have vendors, so you can get everything Black from our oils and everything.
And I love it.
Event. But most important, you'll get to hear, our words, and serious conversations, happening about Black literature and what's happening with our books.
Do you think teachers, I mean, they probably get in trouble for it, so it's probably a fine line, should buy these books that are being banned and pass them out to students? Or it's probably, I guess, maybe according to each district, maybe it's against the rules? Or I have heard stories of teachers doing that, and then other stories of teachers being fired, but I'm trying to figure out what the solution to that is.
Yeah. I feel, moderately fortunate because I am at a predominantly Black institution, a PBI of Medgar Evers, so our whole thing is Black, so you're gonna have that in there. So, the trouble is more with the lower schools, like middle schools, high schools, and things like that. College, we're still kind of, the colleges are still kind of trying to hold on to, to their independence.
Right.
It's, the school boards and school districts in these different locations, are what's causing so much of the havoc.
They really are. I'm in an area where it's close to the Temecula school board, and they just, I mean, they've had violence there, fighting over books and what they don't want taught and what they think it's being taught. No one's teaching, CRT.
Critical race theory.
Right.
Like, if you ask them what critical race theory is, they don't know what it is. They heard it and they figure, if it's Black, it must be critical race theory, and y'all can't teach it. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And that's it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It is. I mean, it's so frustrating too, because I mean, one of the greatest things I think on this earth is reading. You know what I mean? It's literature. It just opens up a world to you. You know what I mean? It fills you with knowledge. It's an escape sometimes too, just to read different stories, adventures. I mean, and as children, I think they need that. It just helps, help them develop, help them to grow, and critical thinking, which is why they don't like
that's why they don't like it.
Exactly.
That's why
I think I really do feel like there is just this movement to keep children ignorant, to dumb them down, and then
because if they can, then they can tell you whatever they want to tell you.
Right. You're so on the money with that. And you would believe it because
what do you have to compare it to? It's like, yeah, everybody's they're going to grow up to be empty vessels, to be filled up with whatever the powers that be want to fill them up with. And won't be able to sit back, because even as an English professor, and we're dealing now with, AI,
right,
in composition. And, so
how do you deal with that?
That's a whole other, exercise. And what are we going to do about this? Because students won't have to really think about anything. They can type in a prompt and say, write me a 250-word essay on author Donna Hill and include the facts that, she works at Medgar Evers College, and this machine will just spew it out.
I've seen it. I've gotten into a lot of arguments with it. How do you distinguish from your students when they're turning in work that's not AI generated? I mean, I know there's a way to kind of scan it out, but have you had that issue?
Yeah. Well, you can kind of tell, because what happens is that the language is very generic.
Right.
And it's very superficial. So if I asked a student to, analyze, the idea of ambiguity in the novel Passing by Nella Larson, and they just put in, in the search engine, talk about ambiguity in passing, the AI generator will be able to produce something for you, but it'll be all surface. What we require students to do is provide proof, right? So that's where the critical thinking comes in. So if you have a section in your paper, you have to justify why that's there. And you can justify that why it's there because you've gone to the actual text itself, you found the support for it, and you put it in the paper, you cite it. And so papers that are AI generated technically don't have that, because the generator is not going to do it for you. They're not reading the book. They're pulling information, out of the ether to put together in the paper. So those are some of the things to look for. There are scans that some search engines have when
that can detect what it's AI,
when it's electronic. So if you have a paper that they submit a hard copy, then that's that's something different. You have to really, really pay attention.
Ooh, man, technology.
I know.
Is it a curse or a blessing? A little bit of both.
Exactly.
A little bit of both. Well, what's coming up next for you? What are you working on?
I am currently working on a novel. about the Pullman porters and the start of the Black middle class that begins around 1944. And it is the journey of my two characters who meet on one of the trains. And my hero is a Pullman porter, and what that was like for them.
Right.
That life and the travel, and how do you maintain, relationships, and the segregation and the racism that they had to face, and why they were so important to the Black community. So that's what I'm working on now. So I'm doing my research.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So this is how you get into the process of
Yeah.
your writing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give a writer in that process?
To make sure that your facts are correct.
Right.
Because I've had that happen to me, that I was just like, "Oh, I know about such and such and so and so," and I didn't.
Right, right.
The reader will tell you.
Do your
You know,
research. Do your
yeah,
research.
do your research. Make sure that you're as accurate as possible. Because there are going to be things that you'll miss.
Right.
But you want to be as accurate as possible. For me, my process may be different from someone else. My process may start with just a concept. It may start with a character name that I particularly like for some reason, and I actually build a story around them. I know that what has happened with me over the past 3 to 4 years is that I've moved away from contemporary romance and women's fiction into more historical type work.
Okay.
And so, I always tell aspiring writers to read.
Right.
You just have to read and work at your craft, simply because you have a computer and a story you think that you could tell doesn't mean that you're an author. And that's
Right.
okay, right? Because I can watch, Law and Order SVU until the sun comes up, but
Right.
that doesn't make me a detective.
I
Right?
hear you. I hear you.
So, every story doesn't need to be told, and that's fine.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're going to put your stuff out there, your work is going to last long after you're gone. And so you want it to be representative, of your best efforts. And simply because, you can publish on a dime and, Amazon will publish it for you.
Right,
And this
right.
doesn't mean that it should go out there.
Mhm.
And so you want to make sure that, it's really representative of you. Do the work. Pay homage to all those that came before you.
Right.
I think about that all the time. All the writers that, helped me, were there for me, writers that I learned from. I'm still learning after
Right.
30 odd years of writing. I'm still learning to be a writer.
Exactly.
And so it's an ongoing process.
That right there, I want to end on that note because it's an ongoing process. Read and learn your craft. That's perfect. That's
Yes.
perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
go to the Center for Black Literature and sign up for the conference.
Oh, I'm definitely doing that. Yes, please, please. There it is right there. You've definitely got to sign up. It's happening in 2024 in March, the 20th to the 23rd. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that, and I hope to see you there because I think I'm gonna try to be there for sure. So I want to thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely.
Just the knowledge that you've given us has been incredible. I hope everyone out there learned something because I certainly did. And I was taking notes. I noticed both of us had our pens in our hands and I was like writing. Brilliant. And thank you for the work that you do with the organization, you and Dr. Brenda Green, because it's an amazing organization and we need it. We need it. So thank you for elevating the conversation today.
This was fun. We could talk for hours. You know that,
yes,
right?
We could. Yes, we could. And I'm ordering your books because I am very interested in those. Especially the one that's been optioned, the B flat and Yaya's. I am Yaya. Yes, that one right there. I'm ordering that one today because I really want to dive into that. Just the whole dismissing of your legacy really resonated with me, and I hope it resonated with the audience. So thank you, Professor. I appreciate you so much.
All right.
It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Whoo. Well, there you have it. Professor Donna Hill just gave us the breakdown on, Black literature and, the conference that's coming up. So I hope you guys, check it out. Check it out. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for watching The Frequency, Black Star Network.